Let's talk about the association. The season is already underway, and why not? It's joined by 13-year NBA veteran Donald Foyle. And let's start off with those Cleveland Cavaliers, and why not? Because they got the best player on the planet on their team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. But after 2 games so far, 1 up, 1 down, your expectations change at all from what you saw at the beginning of the season?
I think what worries most people is that you have a guy in LeBron James that played arguably in one of the hardest cities in Miami, winning championships there, and then deciding to come back home to Cleveland. And I think the big pressure for him is how do you play with the weight of the city on your back? And I think that's the way the first game played out. So I think for him, it's going to be calming his team down and allowing them to take the season 1 game at a time and really not worry about the city.
Now that he's got that first game out of his belt, and then he went on the road, they're on a 4-game road trip. How do you think this 4-game road trip to begin the season right now, after that home opener, how do you think that'll help this team?
Well, I think, this team is a good team. When you look at the big threes across the league, I mean, in Kyrie Irving and Love, what you have, and LeBron, what you have is 3 of the best players for the next 5 years in this league. The question going to be, how do they persevere through this year and through the first part of the season, giving them a lot of confidence going down in the home stretch?
How do they do it then? I mean, that's the big question. Is the chemistry of this basketball team?
Well, I think part of it is creating a culture. I think what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're keeping them away from all the pressure of the city, coming back home. They haven't won a championship in almost 50 years in that city. So I think what you want to do is to really kind of dilute the expectation for this team and really help them to really learn to play together and not worry about the outside distractions.
Nah, Donald, because, it's been 50 years. The people of Cleveland won a championship, and when you bring a 2-time champion, a 4-time MVP back home, and then you bring in a Kevin Love, who is the best power forward in the game, and Kyrie Irving, one of the best point guards in the game, the expectations are not only going to be there from the city of Cleveland, but from us in the media and fans across the nation.
But I think, if you look at Popovich and the way Popovich coaches, I mean, one of the things that he does is that he takes a lot of the pressure off of the team. So it's going to be important that the coaches decides to make sure that that locker room is protected from the media and give those guys an opportunity to develop. They're great players. They haven't played together very long. When you look at what happened in Miami, even when he went in there with Dwayne Wade and BOSH, it took a year for them to make it to the next level. So it's going to take them some time here.
Yeah, a lot of pressure was on Eric Spoelstra that first year, and a lot of people were wondering if Eric Spoelstra would even survive that first season. Right. David Blatt is new to the NBA, period, coming from Europe. He's got a lot of credentials from the European League, but coming over to the NBA, how much pressure is on him?
I think in terms of understanding the culture and building a culture for this team, having not really grew up in this culture, not being part of the system as much, I think it's going to be difficult for him. But hopefully he has surrounded himself with a lot of good players, and LeBron coming back and being a leader and having had the experience that he had in Miami, I think that's going to help them.
All right, I think the Cavs are going to be all right when it's all said and done.
Indeed.
One team that's not going to be all right, the LA Lakers. I don't know if they won 10 games this season. And Kobe Bryant, poor Kobe. He's still trying to be one of the best players in the NBA, and he's playing well, but his team is not right now. The expectations aren't very high for this Lakers team right now, off to an 0-4 start. But how much longer can Kobe tolerate this losing before he actually loses it himself?
An 0-4 start. This is the worst since 1957. This is bad. I mean, I think if you're a competitor, as we know that Kobe is, I mean, you have to say to yourself, one, he understands that he's making $23.3 million this year. He's going to make 25 next year. So you understand that that's part of the problem, is that how do you build this team around him when you have such a scarce resources in front?
So some of the blame should go to Kobe because he accepted that salary, that money that they offered to him?
I always say that players shouldn't feel bad about accepting money that is given to them. However, if you're looking at the makeup of the team, if you look at what happened in Miami, a lot of guys give up some of their salary to bring in other players. So you have to create a culture where players want to come and play with you. I don't think Kobe has done that yet.
Is it more because the money's not there, or the rumors and reports that are out there that some of these big-time free agents don't want to play with Kobe because of Kobe's personality and his attitude from the past?
Well, I mean, you have a history to deal with here that he has to contend with. He needs to go out and actively recruit players, and I don't think he has done a very good job of that. You know, guys wanted to go to walk with LeBron. They want to be with LeBron. They don't want to go and walk with Kobe. Shaq is out there saying how difficult that is. Dwight just left, one of the marquee players in the NBA. So I think if you're Kobe, you have to rehabilitate your image a little bit in going out and begging guys to be on your team.
But Donald, this is a five-time NBA champion. This is a former MVP of the league, one of the greatest players of all time. A lot of people put them in the top 5 of all time. Why does he have to go out there and basically kiss butt in order for other players, good players, to come and join him to try and win his 6th championship?
Because I think that, you know, what he has is that players are very funny. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's about being in a situation, being in part of a culture that you feel comfortable with, knowing that a guy have your back, knowing that a guy is going to protect you, right? Knowing that you got to go out and do the job that needs to get done. And I think what you've seen over the years that Kobe has had a very difficult time convincing people that he's going to have your back 100%.
Wow, strong statement there. Hey, what about Kobe? I mean, look, he's been with the Lakers his entire playing career, but obviously the Lakers aren't going anywhere this year. He wants to win that 6th ring. He doesn't have that many years left. Should he at least open his mind and open up the idea that possibly if a team wants to add him as that piece to get them over the top, that maybe he'll open himself up for a trade? I know he makes a lot of money, but maybe even open himself up for a trade to go to a contending team.
You know, he says that he bleeds, you know, Lakers colors all the way, that he wants to be a part of this this team for the long term. And I think that there's no indication that he wants to leave. But I think...
But should he?
I think if you look at the fact that the window is closing in on his career, he has 5 rings. I know Charles Barkley would give him an arm and a leg to get one of those rings. So it's not like he didn't play at the highest level. So I think for him is whether or not he can lower and taper his expectation for what he wants to accomplish this year. And we don't know that, what he wants to do this year. We know he wants to win, but with this team, he's not going to win. And could he then lower his expectation and figure out, I can maybe bring the young guys along, helping them to improve, and hopefully by All-Star weekend, maybe getting a few players that will be coming here and play with him.
Man, Swaggy P hurt, Julius Randle out for the season. It's going to be a long year for Byron Scott, Kobe Bryant, and the Lakers. Meanwhile, the other L.A. team, and I don't even know if we can consider them the other L.A. team now because maybe they're starting to try and take over the city. I know they got to win championships first, right. But this Clippers team, very exciting. Hasn't played up to the expectations so far this season, but that new owner in Steve Ballmer, what do you think it would have been like as a player to play for an owner like Steve Ballmer?
Well, you know, I think one of the first things we have to tell new owners, you don't go and ask Mark Cuban for advice as to how to be an owner. That's probably the first mistake that he's made. Cuban? We love Mark, but Mark is a very esoteric guy, right? So he goes out there, he enjoys his team. I think what you've seen is a lot of passion from the new owner. You just spent $2 billion on a team. You have to be excited about the future of your team.
Right.
But I think the way that we judge Mark Cuban at the end of the day is guys feel they want to play for him because he makes them better by providing the ancillary things in the locker room. So at the end of the day, guys are going to let this go if he create a culture where players want to be, and he has changed the culture so much with the Clippers organization that guys will say, you know, not only is he excited about supporting us, but he's helping us to be better. That's how they're going to judge him at the end of the day.
How do you think it is like a complete 180 from what they had with Donald Sterling to this guy who is actually a likable guy?
Right, and I think that he's going to get a pass for a while. I mean, he's excited. He wants to win.
What do you mean a pass before? What do you mean a pass?
Well, I think when he's going to get, like, the first time you come into the league, you know, guys are going to say, okay, you know, he's excited. We just had this difficult situation that we went through that derailed our chances from winning a championship. We have a new owner in BALLMER coming through, and then the question is, we're going to let him be excited about the team for a little bit, but then if it becomes a distraction beyond that, then I think during the course of the year, you will see kind of a change in attitude.
Yeah, well, you look at Mark Cuban. A lot of players want to play for Mark Cuban because, like you said, some of the ancillary things that he brings to the team. He makes the locker room more enjoyable. He's always around, but he doesn't get involved with the day-to-day operations when it comes to meddling with the head coach. So as long as he stays away from the day-to-day operations, you're saying he can be fine?
Yeah, because I think, you know, if you look, players love having a fan. A fan is great, right? And having a fan that really wants to win is the most important thing first. But at the end of the day is, what are you going to do to make me better as a player? What are you going to give me to help me to go out and compete and be at my best? That's going to be the measure by which to judge him at the end of the day.
$2 billion, man. He can do whatever he wants to.
Hallelujah.
Man, seriously. And I'd be happy, too. I'd be saying this crazy if that was just 1/10 of my whole net worth, $2 billion. That's fine. Meanwhile, let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. They got some issues right now as well, man. How do they tread water for the next month or two? Because they're going to be without Russell Westbrook for at least a month, and then Kevin Durant for the next 2 months. How do they tread water until their superstars are back?
So I'm from the Caribbean, so I think they need to bring in a voodoo doctor. They need to do a seance. They need to do something. I don't know what is in the water in OKC. They need help out there in a big way. Look, I mean, having Durant going down is one thing. Having Westbrook going down also, and playing with only 7 or 8 players right about now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for them to compete. But, I mean, at the end of the day, though, if you could stay and really just try to tread water a little bit until, let's say, February, and allow these guys to come back, would you want to see this team as an 8th seed in the playoff at the end of the day?
That's a really good point, man, because as long as they get into the playoffs and then you got Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, I mean, they'll be back before Christmas, it seems, but the second half of the season, they can be a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play them at the 8th seed.
Yo, voodoo doctor, Chris.
Voodoo doctor.
Your wife, my ex-wife, and you are from the same. Maybe that's what's been happening to me ever since we got a divorce. I'm just playing with you. All right, I had to throw that out there. I'm sorry. I started off this. What player you think will have a breakout season this year?
I think there's going to be a few players this year that I'm looking at. I look at KLAY Thompson. I think, you know, scoring 16 points last year, already after 29.7 points a game. What I like about him is that from playing with the USA team this year, he has gotten a lot of confidence. He talked about he felt like he belonged as a part of that elite club. So I think he's going to do very well this year. And I think the reason that he needs to do very well because they needed to get to the next level. Last year, he played great games, but he didn't put 3 or 4 games together. If he can do that this year, I think he's going to be on his way to being an all-star.
All right,
and then, of course, for me, it's Chris Bosh. I think, you know, Chris Bosh, with LeBron leaving Miami.
So he's going to re-break out.
He has to come back from his kind of Toronto days and give them a much-needed lift because if you look at Dwayne Wade, he's not going to be able to carry this team. So if the Miami Heat is going to go anywhere, it's going to be in the backs of my young fella.
And LeBron may have made him a better outside shooter, but do you think he held him back in a way for the last 4 years they played together?
I think what made that team great, and I think where Pulsar get a lot of credit, is that a lot of the players really decided that they wanted to win, and they give up part of the game to do that. And you can see that in Chris Bosh. But I think that one of the things that's going to happen, now that he has to carry the team, I think you will see him getting back to the form that he had in Toronto.
All right. Oh, good, man. Come on over here a little bit.
Sorry.
Mark, there you go. We say goodbye and everything like that. My man, Donald Foyle, hanging out with us, enjoying America's pregame. Good stuff, man.
All right. Thanks, bro.